Looks a bit like a jungle right now. The native plants and seeds I planted a few years ago have pretty much taken over, and they're now reseeding everywhere. I'm now at the point where I'm not trying to coax new life into being, but rather trying to make sure I can keep the walkway clear enough for people to get to our house. It took a little while, but it happened. And at this point in the fall, when I'm finally getting around to cutting back some of the dead branches and pulling out dead flower stems, I can marvel at how these plants I planted intended now simply grow stronger every year without my help. Not all of them survived, and I couldn't know exactly which ones would in which places, but many did. And the ones that found their fertile soil have grown and reproduced so much that now I have to work to thin them so there's enough space for them to be healthy. Even if it's a little overwhelming, it's an abundance of beauty throughout the summer. This weekend, I'm going to spend some time dealing with that thinning and cleanup as a bit of outdoor therapy. To say it's been an emotional week would, of course, be an understatement. For me, cautious optimism on Tuesday afternoon gave way to that sinking feeling as my heart dropped into my stomach Tuesday night. This is not the outcome I wanted this week, and I will admit the future looks incredibly bleak. We already lived through the plot of episode 1, and we know the sequel will be an even rougher ride. I am ashamed of our country. I am ashamed of the choices over half of our electorate made. I am ashamed that many people simply chose not to vote. I am ashamed of what our choice says about us. Not many people I know are openly celebrating this week's election results, but I've seen a couple of posts about how God is ultimately in charge, so everything will be okay. One particularly tired post compares our president-elect to King David as another deeply flawed human being whom God somehow managed to use for good. But God is not a cosmic puppet master directing our choices. We are free to make stupid and harmful decisions. Sometimes, perhaps even often, God finds some way to work our poor decisions for good. But that is not a given, and God can't make us do anything, even if it's God's desire for us. The story of the widow of Zarephath and the story of the widow's mite are traditionally used as part of a focus on financial stewardship. But in the context of this week, both have something to say to us about the persistent, defiant nature of hope in the face of despair. Both of these widows have lost everything: spouses, housing, safety, standing, and comfort. For the widow of Zarephath, she is also enduring a famine, and death is her close companion. When Elijah spots her, she is gathering a little wood for a fire to make a last supper for herself and her child so that they can eat and then die. She explains that she doesn't have much to share, but she reaches out to allow herself this one last act of community by sharing what she does have. For the widow in Mark, she sees all the fine people in the temple, perhaps remembering what she used to have and how people used to look at her. They are contributing large amounts, and her own tiny contribution is dwarfed by the resources they have at their disposal, their ability to impact decisions made by local officials by virtue of their wealth and social standing. And yet she still shows up. She acknowledges that she has something to give, and she gives what she has. Both of these widows had reason to sink into despair. Certainly the widow of Zarephath was on the brink of it, but neither succumbed. Rather than despairing, both of these women reached out in love and generosity, choosing to reach out in relationship and give what they did have rather than closing in on themselves and cutting themselves off. Despair is easy. Despair tells us that there is nothing we can do and that nothing we have to offer matters. But despair is a liar. There is always something. In the midst of this time when we are disappointed and angry and sad and feeling all the feelings, despair can feel enticing. It can feel like nothing we do matters, like nothing will ever matter. It can feel like we've given all we have, that there's nothing else and nothing we have left will be enough. But it's okay that all we have left is a little. God is capable of taking what little we have and making it into enough. On its own, no. What each one of us has is certainly not enough. But when we bring what we have into our broken world, into our community, into our relationships, into our life together, God can make that into enough. Progress never follows the shortest distance between points A and B, and it certainly isn't doing that this time. My friend and colleague, Pastor Joy McDonald Coltfett, writes, "There are so many forces that are so much bigger than us that were seeded long ago. So many people around us are working for a better world." She continues, "Through their giving, the widows in today's stories provide an important counterpoint to who we usually think is most important. God sees you and loves you and is cultivating not a spirit of greed and selfishness, power and control, but a spirit of generosity on behalf of the whole community. Our instinct may be to close in on ourselves, but God calls us outward in a spirit of defiant hope. Hope is not mere optimism. Hope is brave. because it requires us to be honest about the challenges we are facing and imagine how things could be different and better. So we move forward from this inflection point, knowing that what we see that we have is never going to be enough to heal this broken world, but that God brings us together in a spirit of love, generosity, and compassion that God makes into enough. None of us are required to heal the whole world on our own, and we were never asked to. But when we recognize that our hands are not, in fact, completely empty, we can reach out in generosity to give what we have as a prayer for a better world, hoping that the seeds we plant today will one day bloom gloriously and maybe even uncontrollably in fertile soil. Amen.